Hey, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to say Barakatah, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and salutations to the sincere Aki. I'm pushing this truth in all due diligence and sincerity. We all know, according to the scriptures, that the Heavenly Father and His Son are of color, yeah, dark skinned, yeah, Israelites, what would be referred to as so-called black, or the Heavenly Father created the Israelites, but his depiction is of a dark skinned man. It's described in the book of Daniel. Yahweh Shai's description is put in the book of Revelations, man. Like he's described as having skin like it was bronze, like it was burned in the furnace, like but across the entirety of the globe. Esau Edom portrays Yahweh Shai as Edomites because ultimately the devil's in rulership, and pursuant to Job 9 and 24. In fact, let me grab it. Job 9 and 24. Earth is given into the hand of the wicked. What does he do? He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Iconoclasm. Yeah. Basically, pretty much the defacing of dark art across the globe, man. And it's not just the Israelites that he did this to. They also went into Egypt and pretty much fucked with the artifacts over there and changed shit up. Basically, these devils, man, ultimately have tried to portray themselves as the ruling class above the whole of society. They've put themselves as the guys. They've portrayed themselves as the Heavenly Father and His Son. They portrayed themselves as the Egyptians. They portrayed themselves as the Persians. Every time, every period piece you watch historically, up until recent times, has had Edomites playing everyone, playing the Egyptians, and this is the ancient Egyptians that are the modern day Sudanese, even before the Grecians moved in there, and you had like the tales of Cleopatra and all of those falsehoods and that. Yeah, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, Kadash, and His Son are people of color, man. It's a matter of fact, and when you go into 1 second. Songs of Solomon 105. You go into the book of Revelations, mine's gone blank. Just give me a second. That's it. Salakia. When you go into the book of Revelations, the first chapter, 13th verse, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps of a golden girdle. He wore a garment that stretched down to his feet, and you know that would have had the borders of blue and the fringes, and he had a golden girdle around his waist, yeah, and the girdle was worn as a wartime piece armament, man, piece of your armory, basically pretty much to stop you getting stabbed in the abdomen. Yeah, matter of fact, one of your weaker points in your body, where vital organs are. His head and his hairs were white like wool, so he had white woolly hair, man. Because in the English it says white like his head and his hairs were white like wool, but when you actually then go into the compound words and break it down, use the blue letter in your own time. It breaks it down and shows you that it was woolly in texture and white in color, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. That could have been a variety of reasons, but the Lord was a wine bibber. He had to drink for his stress. He was stressed out, extremely stressed out. In this depiction here, he's extremely angry because he's coming back to bring judgment upon the face of the earth, primarily to judge Esau. And but anyway, to stickers to the point, and his feet like onto burned brass. I'm sorry, on his feet like onto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. And if his feet were like burnt brass, like we've had loads of people try and circumvent this, try and be smart. If his feet were like onto burnt brass, and you could see his feet from underneath the garment, what do you think the remainder of his body would have looked like? As if they burned in a furnace, and the sound of and his voice is the sound of many waters, straight up and down. Yeah, and then you go into scriptures like where we at? Songs of Solomon, but I'll grab Jeremiah 14:2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Let's read that again. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground. They are basically pretty much, and the Hebrew word there is kadah, dark skinned. Dark skinned. Kadah was of the lineage of Ishmael, and even the Ishmaelites then were dark people, man. And the word kadah is used there for black, basically pretty much saying um they are as dark as the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem has gone up. They were mourning. That's not a matter, but although that reference onto darkness was mentioned, it wasn't necessarily just speaking about the state of their mind state. They were actually a dark skinned people. Matter of fact, it's indisputable. You go into scriptures like Songs of Solomon. Where we at? Song of Solomon 1 verse 5. I am black but comely. I am basically pretty much dark, man. I am dark, black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, man. As black as the tents of Kedar. That's where the word comes from, Kedar. But here they've got it in the wrong spelling, Kedar. It's Quadar, Qadar, Kedar. One of the descendants of Ishmael, man. Dark skinned. He's saying I'm as dark as the tents of Kedar, and beautiful, man, as the curtains of Solomon. And this was Solomon speaking, man. King Solomon wrote the Songs of Solomon. You'll have these scholars talking about, oh, somebody else speaking in his perspective and X, Y, Z. Listen, King Solomon said, I am dark and beautiful, all you daughters of Jerusalem, as dark as the tents of Kedar. The Apostle Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. Where am I going with all of these color scriptures? The men of the Bible, man. Whether you're talking about Yahweh Shai himself, his father Yahweh, the 12, including Peter, James, John, etc., Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Isaiah, Timothy, well, Timothy, not modern day time, you would have been an Israelite, but like there would have been a lot more mixing, but still, you would have been a man of, you would see he was a man of color. Like, but all of the men of the Bible, man, would have in modern day society today, 2026, would have been called so-called black people. They would have been trying to identify them according to Esau's modern day terminology of, are you black African, black Caribbean, all of that bullshit. But they would have been so-called black people, even though that term black is absolute bullshit. However, you have it where Esau Edom has this actor right here, a lady called Lupita Nyong'o, right? And she's basically, Esau Edom is again using this race baiting shit to enrage these Edomites. You got it to where basically she's been picked to play a role, right, in Hollywood. And basically pretty much Edomites are vexed because they're saying the character should be inherently white. So why is it you got a black woman playing it? And I mean, at the end of the day, I get it. But guess what? In the same way, Habashai is dark skinned man. Why is it that so much money is invested in Brazil, in the land of Asher? You got two, not just one. You had the original in Rio de Janeiro, and they built a second idol, yeah, onto Serapis Christus. Why is it that that's all right and that can be accepted, but then the black woman acting in a role that was allegedly supposed to be run by one of your kind, Esau Edom, becomes a problem? Because ultimately, man, these devils are fucking hypocrites. They want to take our power and try and make him look like them and falsify the records and get Jake believing that Yahweh Shai was a leper, but they don't want to ever see a so-called black man or woman playing their characters. There was supposed to be Idris Elba playing James Bond. And again, we don't fucking need James Bond. We've got much deadlier assassins and much more honorable stories, man. The likes of David, Gideon, Barak, Mordecai, etc. But ultimately, Moses, but Joshua, if I haven't said him already, but ultimately, in this society, Esau Edom, basically, man, pretty much feels like he is the shit. He feels like everybody owes him something. He believes like cultural misappropriation for him and his people should not be allowed. But he'll standardly happily take the Bible and tell you that No, maybe he wasn't white, but he was Middle Eastern. There's no way he would have been black, But that's the devil for you, man. And then meanwhile, in 2026, they'll get upset about a so-called black woman playing a role that allegedly a so-called white woman should play. Check this.
Lupita Nyong'o has been targeted for what some people are calling racist backlash. The Oscar winner has been rumoured to play Helen of Troy in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, but despite not having the role confirmed, she's faced criticism, with some people saying she doesn't fit the role as a black actor. One user on X said Helen of Troy is supposed to be blonde and white-armed. Elon Musk joined the conversation on X, saying that Christopher Nolan, the film's director, had lost his integrity. Other users on X disagreed with Musk, saying The Odyssey is a myth and she can be beautiful in any colour. Whoopi Goldberg responded to Elon's comment in an episode of The View, suggesting that he look in the mirror if he had any concerns over people's looks. Lupita.
But then these devils are also trying to go on like they weren't dark-skinned people during the time of the Grecians, man. Like Israel wasn't around back then when Alexander the Great came up and engaged with the priests when Antiochus Epiphanes and the rest of his men and Esau Edom ultimately, once that the kingdom of Alexander was split into his 4 generals, they're acting like Jake weren't around then. They're acting like Jake were some of the most prominent fighters in the Roman Empire, man. Actually, even sometimes coming down on other Jake. But that's because this devil ultimately doesn't want to see our people recognized. He doesn't want to see the truth of our heritage being revealed across the face of the planet Earth. Lamentations 5, and I want to start from verse 1. Remember, O Yahweh, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. But they'll get angry at us because a black woman wants to play Helen of Troy. And even then, I'm not going to get into all of that, but just know that a lot of these historical figures are not Edomites, man. I'm going to put it like that. Our inheritance has turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. You got these Zionist devils out there trying to turn Palestine into a tourist resort. You got the so-called Board of Peace, that bullshit with Trump and Tony Blair and allegedly Putin and Netanyahu and a couple of others. The Lord is gonna strike all of that through, man. Our inheritance has turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. These devils are living in our land claiming to be us. You got Jakes, actual Israelites that are flying over there and taking part in Esau's army, trying to get a stake from Esau in their own land. Everything on that side of the world, man, is going to get eviscerated also in that time of Jacob's trouble. And the Lord's going to rebuild everything from scratch. Absolutely everything. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied for bread. Our husbands have, our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doth deliver out of their hand. We get our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Yeah, this whole kingdom is absolutely fucked for Jake. They don't want to see Jake in any sort of position of authority. Why? Ultimately, because they know who we are. We know that we are regal and true people, man. They know that also. But they want to keep Jake on that low niggerish vibration for as long as possible. Well, guess what? The Lord Jehovah Shai is going to show himself, man. And the truth that has been so long without fruit in due course shall be declared. Everyone's going to know, man, that Yahweh Shai is a man of color. Everyone's going to know that ultimately, pursuant to the Song of Solomon 1 and 5, the strangeness of our salvation, that the Lord Yahweh is dealing with the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And Esau Edom has no part to play in that. Fuck these devils. When I get angry at our so-called black actor playing a part in Troy, but you're happy to sit back while so-called Jesus, so-called. But anyway, the Most High Son is predicted as one of your leper asses. Fuck you devils, man. Kwame Shada.